Coming at you live from Boston, Massachusetts, the first road trip of the year for the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm Katie Woo. He's Bernie Miklasz. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. Bernie, what a fun homestand.
I thought it was great. I mean, after sweeping the Twins, you're thinking two tough losses. Oh my gosh, are they going to get swept by the Angels? But that was a great game yesterday. I mean, it was a wild game Wednesday, and once again, we see a lot of energy and a lot of resolve and a lot of I'll use a corny expression, a lot of fighting spirit from these Redbirds so far in 2025. They're a really entertaining team to watch. And bottom line, 4-2 homestand, you'll take it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the one thing that we said could not happen almost did. We said the worst thing the Cardinals could do, sweep the Twins and then get swept by the Angels. But they avoided that. They went 4-2 on the homestand, played 6 very competitive baseball games. I know you probably want at least one of those in extras, but I think they'll gladly take 4-2, and they had a plus 17 run differential. I don't think I've seen that. I don't think I've seen a positive run differential with this club in probably the last 18 months. So I'm with you. I thought the competitive spirit, if you will, from the Cardinals offense specifically was so encouraging. And this is something that Oli Marmol talked about post-game with us. I asked him, with your homestand thoughts, what was your big takeaway? And he was like, I just liked how aggressive we were. I thought the way that we're playing the game is a good way to play it. And I thought overall, based where we thought this team was heading into the season, going 4-2 to start the year and scoring 42 runs in 6 games, that'll do it. And that plus 17 run differential, by the way, is the 4th best in baseball. So not too shabby for these Cards to start the year.
Not at all. I feel like I always have to preface everything at this stage of the season by saying, I know it's early, but, listen, everyone that follows this team, who loves this team, media who covers the team, the one thing I think we were all looking at the beginning is, would this offense come out of the gate and give us some evidence that maybe they're better than last year? And again, it's only 6 games. I know that. But they left town with an average of 7 runs per game. Only the Yankees have scored a higher average per game than the Cardinals so far. And I know it's only 6 games, but like I kind of tend to say, they're the only 6 games we have to work with. So we're just saying what's happened in the first 6 games. And they have the number 2 run scoring offense so far in the majors. Long season,
but early returns are pretty good. What I really liked about this Cardinals team was the quality of at-bats. I think were almost exactly the same as Minnesota. And I thought Wednesday's game, we'll get to the Iván Herrera game. When I had no issue with Oli Marmol keeping Sonny Gray in that spot there with the bases loaded there. He's your ace. If you don't trust him in that spot to get that out, then why is he your ace? I think Sonny would like that pitch back. Something tells me that a sinker should not be letter high to Logan O'Hoppe. And it's really disappointing because outside of that, he pitched really well. I mean, the grand slam is ultimately going to mess up the line, but the velo was more consistent. He had 9 punchies. He looked more like Sonny Gray. But that can be really deflating to a team when you go and you take the lead, it's 3-1, all of a sudden your ace serves up a grand slam, lead change late in the game, and the very next half inning, they're all tied up again. And that's something that I don't think would have happened in 2023 and 2024 with this offense.
No, that's a theme, and I agree with it. I've heard some of my friends in the media, like yourself, but also some fans that I correspond with, they say, oh, man, there's no way the Cardinals, after that grand slam, it was just like, whoa, no way they rebound from that. Now, look, technically, we could go back the last couple of years and find some big comebacks, okay? But that's really not the point. What they did yesterday, when they were down 5-3 all of a sudden, and then they come back and tie it. Then they just go nuts with that ambush in the 8th innings. To me, it just kind of reflected their whole mentality. As you said, as Ali said, the aggressiveness. I mean, they just don't back off for a moment. They do not allow themselves to be demoralized, down in the dumps, maybe distracted because, okay, what do we do now? I mean, they just go right at your throat again. I mean, they're really That's what that represented to me. And I think that's what we all mean when we say, I don't think the 2024 team does this.
Right.
Not with that temperament that they showed in this game yesterday, but also the first 6 games overall. I mean, those extra inning games were Donniebrooks. I mean, yeah, they came out on the losing end, but I mean, no one could question whether they fought the entire way. I mean, they fought and fought and fought, and it's a really encouraging sign for the Cardinals and their fans to kind of see this team so fired up and hungry in everything that they do. I mean, it's really cool.
Yeah, they have some confidence in there. They have a little bit of swagger. I like when Oli said that each inning is like its own game. They have a quick memory. They're resilient, they're aggressive, and they have a little bit of FU to them. And I really like that. And you see it. They get punched in the mouth, and they're like, hey, we'll swing too. We'll fight back. I loved the 8th inning. I loved how they set that up. Jordan Walker, great series by Jordan Walker. It's through and through. I really like where he's at. I know he's probably on the ground still a little bit more than the team would like, but I don't care. The early returns, specifically with pitch selection and the overall quality of the bats, are much better. But he singles, and then you see Victor Scott lay down the most beautiful bunt I've ever seen. And Mason Wynn follows up and does the same thing. And all of a sudden you're seeing this small ball in action. And I love those. I love that strategy from them to load the bases there. Nootbaar gets out. That's fine. It's like he gets out. He's reached base 16 out of 30 times. That's our later in the show segment. And then you have Contreras work a walk, Burleson work a walk. And I love the at-bat from Nolan Arenado, where he just stays with the pitch, punches it to the right center side, scores 2 runs, not trying to get too big, swing is nice and compact. And then, of course, Herrera sets it up with the big blast. But to me, that 8th inning on Wednesday's game was kind of a microcosm of how this offense can work. You have guys that can hit, and you have guys that can slug, and then you have the speed dynamic with Victor and Mason. Now that Mason's finally got a batting average, I just really liked how that entire 8th inning unfolded. And obviously, an offense is not going to score 7 runs an inning, but for the Cardinals to do that after a pretty gut-wrenching grand slam an inning and a half prior, I think it's a good sign all around for where the offense is at, and I'm excited to see how it plays here in Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and the thing that was their poison last year, failure with runners in scoring position was really strong on this homestand. I think 294 average. Let me see real quick. 294 average, 5th best in the majors so far with a 515 slug. And as you know, they didn't slug at all in RISP situations last year. So, yeah, their OPS, RISP so far is 3rd in the majors. So, again, early, but you just wanted to see, like I said, you just wanted to see a sign that, okay, that this could be better this year. They're not kind of the same old Cardinals. Now they just have to prove it over a long period of time. And that's the beauty and the curse of baseball, 162. The truth shall be revealed. Yes, it should. And I think the Cardinals have a good test on Friday against Walker Buehler. They do not see the newly extended Garrett Crochet. They will see Paul Skeens on Tuesday in Pittsburgh, but they got to get through Boston first. And I still think that there's a lot to unpack about where this roster is at. It's crazy. The second I start this podcast, my phone does not stop ringing, despite having zero. No one wanted anything from me until I started this. Okay, restarting. Let me get back on track. There's a lot to break down with this roster and how it works. And we saw a little bit of how Oli Marmol is going to use a variety of different players. But I think the catching tandem specifically is very interesting. But before we do that, let's hear from Spot and Tango.
FT fam, I hope you have as much confidence as Penelope right now, who is an avid Spot and Tango fan, okay? And she uses the code FOUL, Kratz, because this is a personalized dog food subscription service that prevents you, of course, from going to the store to pick up the food. And she just gets the highest quality unkibble. That is what they're known for. And I know you love the quiz part of it, too.
It's a super quick quiz, but it lets you give them the information and they tailor it to what is needed based on their age, size, activity level, all things that are custom for each and every one of your dogs.
Yeah, human grade ingredients in that unkibble, USDA meat, fruits, and veggies that are approved there. No artificial stuff, no preservatives. They've got the exclusive deal for the FT fam for a limited time. Go to spotandtango.com/foul. Use code FOUL to get 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/foul. It's spotandtango.com/foul, code foul.
Boy, that Penelope, that's a lucky girl right there, huh?
I know Penelope is so cute.
She is.
My animals back home. Let's talk about the catchers for the St. Louis Cardinals, Bernie.
Sure.
And a spoiler alert for you athletic subscribers, this is the topic that's on the site Friday. I actually was planning on writing about this during Wednesday's game, but a certain catcher decided to hit 3 home runs and kind of changed the strategy on me. Iván Herrera, Pedro Pagés. We knew coming into the season the Cardinals weren't necessarily going to designate a starting catcher, if you will, that they would use them more of a tandem. And I was kind of under the impression that that tandem would be on a game-by-game basis. Turns out it's more of an inning-by-inning basis, based on where the Cardinals are at in their lineup and where the opposing team is in their lineup. Now, let's break it down. These are 2 different catchers, right? Iván Herrera, bat first guy, obviously can slug. We saw that yesterday. First catcher in franchise history to hit 3 home runs in one game. That's a really impressive stat. And it was funny talking to Iván after the game. He actually decided, he thought that, he'd put 8 balls in play coming into Wednesday, and only one of those balls was registered as a true pulled ball. And he's a pull hitter. He said, my bat felt heavy. I wasn't getting it around enough. Everything was going middle. I wanted to make a change. So he went up to Brendan Donovan, whose locker is just a couple spots away. And he said, hey, dude, can I borrow a bat? And he used Donnie's bat for all 3 of those homers. Donnie's bat's lighter, longer, and more dense. It's not necessarily a torpedo bat, but it's a similar kind of style. It was made specifically for him. And now he's not getting that bat back. Donnie was like, I think I deserve at least a credit for one of those homers. Can I have one of those on my line? So great game for Iván Herrera. Saw exactly why the Cardinals are so high on him there. He can hit. He's one of the best pure hitters on the roster. The defensive shortcomings are there. We know about the run game. He threw out just 4 out of 59 stolen base attempts last season. He's 0 for 5 to start the year. It's getting better, but it's clear that it's a disadvantage for the Cardinals, because if you have anyone with speed reach base, they're going to take the extra 90. The framing is better. The receiving is better. The blocking is better. He's made a lot of strides there. He's worked really hard, and this is something that both he and Oli Marmol have talked about extensively. The work ethic is there. The effort is there. The arm is not. So that's Herrera's shortcoming. Pedro Pagés, he's a serviceable backup catcher. He does not have the hit tool like Herrera, but he, I think, is an overall defensively better option, specifically with the run game. He doesn't have a cannon necessarily, but he can throw runners out, and he game plans really well. So we've seen Oli Marmol divide it like this. You'll see Pedro get a start every now and then, but mostly, especially against lefties, you're going to want Herrera's bat in the lineup. And it comes down to the later innings when it's time to defensively replace Herrera, and Pedro comes in the game. There's so much that Oli Marmol is weighing here. He's weighing where the Cardinals are at in their lineup. He's weighing the other team's lineup, if they have speed or not. And he's also weighing, if he subs in Pedro, is Herrera's spot going to come back in the order during a pivotal scoring opportunity where you'd rather have Herrera's bat than Pagés' bat? And we saw that on Monday. The Angels are much faster than the Twins. So I thought we saw the typical standard defensive substitutions in the 9th inning with the lead. Herrera's spot's not coming up. It's safe to put Pedro in there for defensive purposes. That makes sense. And I think the casual fan gets that. We don't need to explain that. But on Monday, the Angels have speed from their 7th hitter to their 3 hitter. All those guys can take a bag. And with the Cardinals tied, or the Cardinals leading by 1 at that point, Oli felt like the 7th, he had to protect the lead. So he takes Herrera out. He puts Pedro in the game. Angels tie it up. 9th inning, 2 on, 2 out. Whose spot comes up in the order? Herrera's, except it's Pedro's. And this is not to say Pedro can't hit. He obviously can. But it's not the hitter that you want in that spot. Game remains tied. They go to extras. They lose the game. That's what Oli Marmol is juggling there. And it just seems like it's a pick your poison situation. We asked Oli after the game, what needs to change with his catching equation? And I'll give him credit. He said, I'm trying to be as honest as possible. I don't know. It's a really tough decision every single time. Bernie, what do you think about this catching dynamic? And can the Cardinals find a way to make it work?
Yeah, well, I think they can. It's a challenge, as you just conveyed. I like the way he's thinking about this. I don't have any problem with his philosophy on this, because Herrera just can't throw anybody out. And listen, I know we're supposed to be objective and all that, but I root for that guy because he's an exciting player. He's a good guy, and he can give them the kind of catcher offense they haven't had, for ages. Maybe Yadier Molina's peak years, which were really good offensively. But what will happen with this strategy, even though I think the principle of the strategy is sound, the risk is that it will on occasion backfire, like you explained Monday night. I had a chance to visit with Oli on Tuesday. He does a weekly half hour with us on KMOX, and he just said, "Well, what would you have done?" And I said, "I would have done the same thing. I think your thinking was sound. It doesn't mean it's just like all managers will tell you. Tony La Russa would tell this, a lot of stuff, and he wasn't just trying to cover his rear end either. He said, sometimes you make the right decisions, but they go bad, and sometimes you may screw something up in a game, but it'll end up working for you. There's no way to predict this stuff. I think he's trying to do the best that he can. I was of the mindset you just got to start Herrera, and you got to make sure he gets a lot of at bats. But you just offered an important distinction. This isn't choosing like one over the other as the primary starting catcher, but Pedro Pagés. We all associate the word closer with relief pitchers. He's the closer at catcher. If they have a lead.
I like that.
Yeah, go ahead and put that in your story. You don't have to credit. You don't need my help. You're brilliant. But anyway, I was thinking about that. It's like, well, look at Pagés. If they have a 1-run lead and they're scared of stolen bases and all that stuff, 1 run, 2 a save situation. I'm banging into my microphone. I'm sorry. I get up so early now to do all this work. I love it though. Anyway,
I could never do what you do. I know that.
So I'm going to start thinking of Pagés as Ryan Helsley, right?
I like that. This is interesting. This makes sense though.
It does. I mean, it's not a perfect analogy, but I think it's a pretty damn good one, right? But I think if we all agree that on a principle, there's a lot of merit to what Oli's trying to do, but we got to be adults here and recognize sometimes it will blow up on you. I didn't think Oli thought that game would go, and why would he? Things appear to be in good shape. Why would he think that? He didn't think Herrera would come back up to the plate. He made the final out of the 6th inning Monday night,
right?
And so you're like, well, he's not going to come up again anytime soon, and as it turned out, because it went into extras, Pagés got 2 at bats, maybe instead of 1, and the 1, as you pointed out, was in a really critical situation. But part of me thinks, well, a guy that hits like that, never take him out of a game. But I think that's perhaps a little too, and it's coming off a 3 home run game, so it's easy to say that. And I'm a Herrera fan, but it just, I don't think it's that simple. Because his throwing is such a liability. I asked Oli the other day directly in his hit with us. I said, listen, I cited the throw out rates, which are horrible. And I said, and I said, Oli, the last 2 times he tried to throw somebody out, they were lollipops. They were just, air balloons. I said, does he have a future as a major league catcher with this kind of problem? Like, seriously. Can he continue to be a major league catcher? And Oli gave it I'm not saying he gave a phony answer, but he gave a diplomat. He said, hey, listen, we're working really hard with him on this, and he's really working hard on this. So we got to give this some time. I don't think it was a cop-out answer. I think it's the correct answer. But I still wonder, what about you? I still wonder if it doesn't get better, are they going to have to think about a position switch? And the problem, of course, is the Cardinals have log jams all over the place. So
right.
Easier said than done. What do you think about that? Do you think eventually he just can't be the catcher, but you have to get his bat in the lineup?
I mean, I think this is the year to figure it out. This is the whole point of the 2025 transition season, if you will. And maybe it's not the reset is not to the extent that we thought, right? But this is the year where you can be patient and you can afford to be patient with players like Herrera and develop them at the major league level. I think this is actually the perfect example of how the 2025 season is different than seasons prior. Seasons prior, Herrera can't throw a runner out. He's on the bench. We saw that last year. This year, to credit of both parties, they're working so hard with him, and he works tirelessly. You hear teammates talk about it all the time. Like, look, it's not a knock on his work ethic. He just needs some extra work here, and they're creative with it. They are trying a new thing with him that they started working in spring training, where his setup when he's throwing down a second is no longer standing up; it's from his knee. Ollie said that his arm slot's a little bit better. It's a little bit quicker. They're working on arm strength. Herrera spent weeks in Tampa over the offseason at Driveline working on arm strength, similar to how pitchers build up. So this is the year where you can afford to be patient with your guys and see, can he develop at the big leagues where he does have a league average arm, or at least can throw some runners out. There's no rush to figure it out. So I agree with Ollie. They do have to be patient here, and they have the luxury to be able to be patient here. They have the closer, if you will, with Pedro Pagés. I really like that. I think that's a spot on analogy, actually, where he can come in and close out the game where you need to win games. But if you need to give Herrera 7-8 innings to see what he can do, and they're running on you, I'm sure pitchers aren't going to love that. But I can understand why the organization is like, we need to see what we have. We need to give him a shot. We need to let him try. And we're going to give everything that we have to work with him as well. So I really have no issue with the way that this pitching or this catching time is being split. We'll still see Pedro start every now and then. And I don't want this to come across as like, I'm out on Pedro Pagés. I'm not. I think he has a valuable role with this club. I think he's a better hitter than maybe what people think he is. I think Ollie thinks that as well. In fact, he said that. And his game plan and his preparation, I mean, I was talking to him earlier in the week, and he said, Ollie and Daniel Descalso are so good at letting me know like what I'm looking at and what part of the lineup. So I'm following the game. So I know exactly when to go prepare. He said on Monday, I had a feeling just where the Angels were in their lineup when I'd be coming in. So Descalso came up to me and said, hey, you're coming in after the 6th. I already knew that. I was already ready to go. I was in the cage. I was prepped. I knew the sequencing. And that is a job in itself, too. So with both of these catchers, I think it's a difficult position for both of them to be in, but it could be going so sideways. But credit to the organization for being consistent in their communication, which is not always true with a lot of the players. And credit to the players, credit to Herrera for taking the criticism to heart and working at it. And credit to Pedro for understanding the situation and doing the best he can to stay prepared and coming in the most pivotal part of the ball game and being expected to produce, and he still does.
And it's actually working out pretty well because, I do agree that I think Pagés has got some upside offensively. And I think we need to also sort of be patient with him, patient in a different way than we have to be with Herrera. If you had the composite there, you got Johnny Bench, I think. Anyway,
no, to mold them together.
I know, yeah. It'd be pretty amazing. But for whatever it's worth, again, only 6 games, but the Cardinals catchers, I won't read numbers. It gets boring, and I'm guilty of that sometime. I admit I can't help myself. The boy can't help himself. But anyway, they have through the first week of baseball, the Cardinals have the best offense from the catcher position in the majors. Now, Herrera, yes, but don't forget Pagés had a pretty big game Sunday too. So it's not like he's along for the ride offensively. He certainly put his pieces in. So it's a really good situation offensively because if we're going to consider Pagés to be like a number 2 catcher, man, in St. Louis, especially all those years with Yachty, no disrespect to my friend Gary Bennett and some others, right? Boy, the Cardinals got no offense out of like that so-called number 2 catchers, right? And I think Pagés can actually give you a little more than what we've seen in the past. So maybe I'm being a glass half full guy on this, but I think there's potential there to just have a really good year out of the catching position, defense and offense. And I think Ali deserves some credit. And I know the haters think everything he does is the worst worst managing in the history of baseball, right? But I think what he's trying to do here is it's going to be difficult. It's going to be tricky, but he's trying to do it in a way where, Herrera is still going to get most of the at bats.
Right.
But
exactly.
when you have a lead, to try to do, okay, what can we do to protect this lead? Pagés is part of that formula. Is that a crazy idea? I don't think it is. I think it's actually a pretty damn smart idea. Even then, and I'm repeating myself, we as fans have to know that sometimes it'll just go boom on you, right? The same thing applies to really great relief pitchers. Every now and then, it just goes boom. Does that mean the manager was wrong? Any manager to bring in that particular setup guy or closer who's been great all year, but once in a while it's just going to blow up. Does that mean the manager's stupid? No. You go with track record, you go with numbers, you go with trends, you go with a performance history. No one can get these calls right every single time, and Oli's trying to do something that, and I know it's probably done before. I'm talking about the catcher situation. I don't recall any time recently seeing that. I'm sure it's happened, but it is something new. I like creativity in managers. I really do, and I think Oli deserves some credit for this. Although, as I say that, I also realize that about maybe 8% of Cardinals fans will give him credit for this. I'm being a little facetious.
That's the beauty of it, right? I mean,
yeah,
I loved, and Twitter is such a small fraction of Cardinals fans, but it's the one that I see in real time. So I loved the immediate reaction. I will say that the timeliness of the Grand Slam on Wednesday, immediately after Oli's mound visit, was objectively funny. And to see Cardinals fans freak out about that, and I, just out of nowhere, and then half an inning later, they're all the way back in, and Ollie's forgiven. I just love riding the roller coaster with you guys. I really do. But I agree with you. I think I thought coming into the season, Oli Marmol is going to have a tough spot because he has to develop guys and win games at the same time and make sure everyone gets playing time, all of that good stuff. But what he's doing with Herrera and Pedro Pagés makes sense, and it is very difficult. It's a very fine line to walk. It did not work for them Monday, but it did work for them last Thursday and Saturday. So even if you have you could have a Ryan Helsley out there. Ryan Helsley's going to blow a couple of saves every now and then, even when he is the best closer in baseball. This catching substitution strategy is probably the most sound they could make it right now. It's not going to work 100% of the time, but I understand the logic behind it. And Bernie, you have some thoughts here about the kids. So let's get into the kids. But first, a message from FanDuel Sports Network. You can now stream the St. Louis Cardinals games through FanDuel Sports Network. And if you use the promo code BASEBALL30, you can start it off with a 30-day extended free trial at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. This offer expires May 2nd, 2025, $19.99 a month after your free trial. Cancel during the free trial to avoid charges. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit FanDuelSportsNetwork.com for details. Bernie, let's get to it. You have some stats on the kids.
And if I could take a moment to be a shameless self-promoter, I've in my Redbird review, which I just got done right before we connected. It's not online yet. I got to do a little more editing. But one of the things I wanted to do is because we all agree that the young hitters that they have, their performance is going to be very influential, good or bad, whether this offense can make a move. And so you're just looking for signs right away that, okay, is it going to be better? Will they come through? We can't draw any conclusions after 6 games, but for whatever it's worth, their 5 youngest hitters, Victor Scott, in no particular order, sorry, Mason Wynn, Victor Scott, Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, Iván Herrera. Those 5 hitters during the homestand collectively hit 326, and they had a 944 OPS. And just every single one of them, just about, even Mason Wynn took a lot of pitches. He wasn't like going up there hacking. They had really mature at bats. I got some stuff on Gorman. It's like sliver samples, but it's almost funny, like his contact rate and how he did not chase pitches out of the zone. So at least the lessons that have been imparted, they went into the season trying to put that stuff into action. And I thought it was a really good sign because, I mean, this is 5 guys in your lineup. Not every single day, but they're going to be either, if they're not regular starters, they're going to get a lot of playing time. so much can tilt one way or the other based on what these 5 guys do, because they are the youngest hitters. And this is the runway season, right? So they're all out there on the runway. But I thought, that was an encouraging thing for the team and the fans to see it, how they did as a group. And those numbers are especially great when you consider that, Wynn didn't even have a hit until Wednesday. So even with that baked in there, these numbers are outstanding.
And what's encouraging is no matter who the opposing lineup is, or the opposing pitcher, excuse me, it's a tough decision on who's on the bench that day right now.
Right.
I mean, Nolan Gorman, in the very small sample size that we've seen him, has looked excellent. Luke and Baker, excellent. We talked about Herrera, obviously. Jordan Walker continues to excel. And, I think fans were concerned about Mason just given how his spring was. The swing looked a little off, but I agree with you. The quality of the at-bats were there. The outcome certainly wasn't. But what was different about Mason, and we talked about this with both Mason and Oli over the week, was his mentality. Tuesday night, we talked to him right after that loss in extra innings. That's a tough time to talk to any player, and he was a pro about it. He stood by his locker, and he was candid. He said, I think if this was happening to me last year, I definitely would have broken some things. I'd definitely be frustrated. He goes, but that's selfish. We're winning games. We're trying to win games, and I'm over here mad because I'm not playing well. That's a bad teammate. That's selfish of me, and I'm not going to do that. He said, I feel like I'm close. I've been working extensively. He felt like his pelvis, I'm going to try to be like a hitting coach mechanic, so just bear with me. His pelvis was tilted up, so he was not able to hit down on the ball. He was pulling off of it, could not really reach anything on the outside part of the zone. So he's tilting himself back is what he described it as, and he's trying to hit down on the ball more, get better quality contact. He said he was watching film with Brant Brown during the rain delay on Sunday, and they were looking at some things there. And he said on Tuesday, he goes, I'm close, and I feel like some scary things are coming. As I'm thinking about this, he might have said this Monday. I don't know. I can't remember. One of these days. But he did say some scary things are coming, and I feel good. But the fact that he was able to be so honest about how he would have handled things last year compared to what he was now, I was like, I really don't think Mason, fans, the team has anything to worry about. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, and I thought it was a good sign yesterday that on the same day, Contreras and Wynn both got something going, and I think that's really important because listen, these are pros. These are very talented people. They're also human beings, and I don't care who you are, especially at the top of the season. Like, you can have an 0-14 in late June, and nobody's really going to talk about it.
Who cares?
No. So you feel it. You have to feel it. It's like, for us, it's the equivalent of like you're writing on an impossible deadline. And in my case, there were some times where I just utterly choked, and I was great at deadline writing, but every now and then you're just kind of like, oh, so I try to relate to that in that kind of weak way. Pressure can make you kind of, occasionally just lose it. It's tough. And that's why I appreciate what all these guys have to do. And I give them their slumps because, my goodness, we're talking about 6 months of baseball, and there are going to be stretches where it's really ugly. Now, Cardinals fans need to realize, or should hope, that maybe those two guys got it out of the way early, right?
Yeah, I love the optimism here.
Well, but if your offense can score 7 runs a game in the first homestand without these two really important players doing much at all, I take that as a good sign. So
yeah, I mean,
anyway,
virtually zero production from your number 2 hitter, and you still have 42 runs in 6 games. I think that'll play, and I'm excited to see what this looks like on the road. I'm excited to see just how how Mason looks, how Wilson looks. I do think they turned a page. One guy I really want to highlight. He's our FanDuel Sports Network. Oh, that's the wrong one. Where'd you go? Where did we go? There we go. He's our FanDuel Sports Network player to watch coming into Boston. He is Mr. Lars Nootbaar. Like I said earlier in the show, leadoff hitter, has played every single inning so far for the St. Louis Cardinals. He has reached base 16 out of 30 times. He has, count it with me, 5 multi-hit games, 2 homers. He has an OPS of 1,200, a slugging of 667, and an on-base percentage of 533. Yes, it's only been 6 games, but you take that in a week, you'll take that from any player. Lars Nootbaar has this catalyst energy that he brings on both sides of the ball. I like his little bird celebration. I don't know for sure he started that, but I can't imagine anyone else. Um, I'm just so encouraged from the early returns of Lars Nootbaar. I think he completely changes the dynamic of the lineup. He looks really athletic out there and left. And it's been a while since you've seen the Cardinals lineup turn over and you're like, all right, here come the hitters. And that starts with Lars, and he looks completely re-energized, refocused, and ready to show the Cardinals, hey, I am a part of this, whether they see it that way or not, this reset. I'm a player that you want to build around, and I'm going to show you why. I like it. I like what I've seen from Lars Nootbaar so far.
I think he's wired to bat leadoff. And listen, when he's had a chance to do it, he's always gotten really good results. And I don't count 2021 when he came up and he played a little. I kind of throw that to the side, but since I don't have the numbers in front of me, but since the start of 2022, when he's been given the opportunity to bat leadoff, numbers are outstanding. And because my goodness, all the pitches he sees on average for plate appearances, he makes the pitchers work. He's given the number 2, the number 3, everybody in the dugout who might hit that inning. He gives them a chance to see what the pitcher's trying to do. He's trying to tire him out a little bit, but also it kind of expose his game plan. And, then you have a guy with a phenomenal walk rate and a really strong OPB, and he ain't Ricky Henderson, but he can do that Ricky Henderson thing where he can deliver power in the leadoff spot, and that I don't think those guys are all that easy to find. So the talent has always been there with Nootbaar, always. The frustration level with the injuries is understandable, but I've always pushed back with fans that just say, well, he's just an average guy. I've had people tell me, well, he's just a fourth outfitter. No, he's not. You're mad at him because he gets hurt a lot. I understand, because I've been frustrated and I've expressed it too. Will he ever stay healthy? That's a whole different question. He's a really good player. And he's like a StatCast superstar. Like he's like a Hall of Fame StatCast guy. And nobody wants to hear that either, because, even me, and I'm into the advanced stuff, but expected stats are nice, but the actual stats, the actual numbers actually win ball games. You know what I'm saying? So, but it seems like that team follows him too. I mean, maybe I'm saying that because he's so visible and his energy and enthusiasm is always on display in those dugout shots or wherever. But just the way he sets the tone at the top of the lineup, I mean, it's like a great way to get that thing rolling right away. He's got that capability. So yeah, big fan of what we saw in those first 6 games. I mean, my goodness, he was tremendous.
Yep. He was excellent. High energy guy on and off the field. But there's a reason that his teammates like him so much. And there's a reason why Oli Marmol is going to keep him in that leadoff spot, regardless of handedness. Now on deck, first road games of the year. What better way to start than at Fenway Park? It's Boston's home opener on Friday. And while I maintain St. Louis does it best, I can't think of a better home opener to go as a visitor than Fenway with the history here. The Red Sox are doing a lot of great things. We'll have an episode out previewing that tomorrow. But for now, Cardinals fans, enjoy the off day. I know I will. Very responsibly, of course, as I always do. What do you got going on this weekend?
What do I have? Oh gosh, I don't know. You'll find me in my. I call my workspace the lair, but you'll find me in the lair. But I also now call it the content farm. I'll be hanging out in the content farm.
You are a content creator. Congratulations.
Just producing. No, it'll be. I think we got a good dinner plan on Saturday with the family member birthday celebration and all that. So no, I'm excited. This team's very intriguing. But I have to ask you, man, I can't let you just get out of here because you were hinting at certain things. You're in Boston. You got there early. I don't know if you have any writing to do today. I know you got a piece coming out Friday, so maybe the writing's already in the bank. Okay, what does Katie Woo do with a day off in Boston? What is on the agenda?
Well, this is a special trip. I actually have just a little bit of writing to do. I did work ahead. What I really have to do is about 3 months of expenses, but I did most of those on the plane yesterday. So this is a fun weekend for me. Not to make it about me, of course, I would never do that. But my birthday is actually tomorrow.
Oh,
And my parents flew in. My parents love to travel. They're both retired. So they did the
man.
cross-country flight yesterday. Alexa Dat is on the trip as a friend. She'll be there, but she's not, Jim Hayes has the sideline reporting, but she came with me. And my good friend Emily, who works for the Cardinals as a videographer, does Cardinals Insider. She appears on FanDuel every now and then. She's on the trip as well. So we have some dinner plans tonight. And then the way that here's some behind the scenes, what baseball writers really look at. The scheduling of these games are ideal for fun because we have a 2:00 game on Friday, which means we're done by like 6, 7 o'clock. And then Saturday, that's a 4:00 game. So you have some recovery if you need it. And then you're also done relatively early. And Sunday is Sunday Night Baseball. So you have all day Sunday to recover. Should you need it? I would never need to do that because I would never be out late, obviously. Pittsburgh is going to suck, is all I'm going to say. I'm going to be very tired for Pittsburgh, but I'm going to have a lot of fun here in Boston, Bernie. I'm super excited. Get some dinner at the North End.
There you go.
Bars around here. Tam Bar is a good one. Yeah, it'll be fun. But obviously, I'm here for work, not fun.
See, I think I need to do some kind of column, like human interest column, on the three primary beat writers. Yourself, Derek Gould, John Denton, because I see you as like three different animals on the road, right?
Yeah.
Three different species, right? And I know what Derek's jam is. I mean, Derek actually, I give him all the credit in the world because he
works his ass off. He works really hard.
But when he has a few hours, and he always tries to maximize a trip to a city, especially those that he really likes. I mean, the dude is he's in art galleries, he's in museums, he goes to these places where they have like weird knickknacks and stuff, and he's always going out there exploring things. When I was on the road over, about 150 days a year, all those years straight, I just wanted to sleep. It was like, leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
Give me some coffee and leave me alone. I don't want to go anywhere. Maybe I'll go to lunch, but I don't want to do anything. Yeah, I would see you having fun, but within reason, but having fun. Denton, I'm not sure about.
Within reason.
What's the scouting report on Denton on the road?
Okay, so I would agree with you, Derek. When
He's
I first
amazing.
took the seat, he had countless recommendations on coffee places, restaurants, just things to do that were outside of the like bar scene, which I was so appreciative for. And every single place that I've gone to that Derek has recommended has been excellent. John is kind of our like activities chair for the St. Louis BBWAA, and he is so big on pickleball, and he's really good at it actually. So he organizes pickleball on the road and at home. At home, we play like every Tuesday out either at Forest Park or Tower Grove. And it's not just writers. It's all St. Louis sports media. If you can show up, play from 10 to 12. We have 2 or 3 courts reserved. It's really fun. And then on the road, we'll do it in the mornings every now and then because we're trying to be like healthy habits on the road. And then every now and then we'll get a beer after the game or something or just decompress. Usually it'll be like we had a really rough game and post game was even rougher and we just need to vent about like our silly little sports writer lives.
Absolutely.
But yeah, John is great. And he really makes sure that I stay active. There's pickleball courts that we know of in Milwaukee, Cincinnati. I don't think we're going to be playing in Boston or Pittsburgh because the weather is terrible. It's raining right now. It's really putting a bad vibe on my off day. But I think you have it pretty spot on. And every now and then the whole beat will go out and we have a good time.
Yeah. And Derek is so thoughtful. And, I just have to say this because since I want to talk about, again, his road life is fascinating me. Nothing makes me smile like when I get a postcard from the road from Derek Gould.
That's his thing. Yeah.
And and I just never know when they're like, if he's in Baltimore, right? I mean, he knows that's my hometown. It isn't just, he just throws some post, he writes a very thoughtful note, but he also he picks a postcard based on the connection to the city, and so with like in Baltimore, it's something to do with crabs or it's something to do with Edgar Allan Poe or it's right on Fort McHenry, whatever, Earl Weaver. It's like, so he's I say this with love. He is a very interesting guy. I mean, he just you don't ever try to peg him; he'll surprise you. But all three of you do an excellent job. Seriously, you do an excellent job, and I'm really happy to know. I knew this already, but I'm really happy that you reaffirmed that all three of you get along splendidly. So there's some situations I've seen where it's not like that. That's awesome.
I think, and this, Bernie, after 162 games together plus 2 months of spring, there's always a little bit of just like, everyone take a deep breath and calm down. But I was about to say I'm a lover, not a fighter. That's not true. I'll fight. We get along though. And, all homestand. I sit next to Daniel Guerrero from the Post-Dispatch, a young up and coming writer who's very talented. John is on my left, Daniel's on my right, and Lynn Worthy's next to Daniel. And I was laughing all series against the Angels because that's what it's about. We have so many jokes because our lives revolve around this team. So we have so many jokes, so many references. And I was just sitting back the other day and I was like, how lucky am I to do this again, where I'm laughing and I haven't stopped smiling since the first pitch. And then of course I get on Twitter and you guys bring me down. No, I'm kidding. But it's a fun dynamic. I'm excited for it, Bernie. And hopefully we'll see you at the ballpark soon.
Yeah. I told Brian Bartow, I said, hey, man, I'll be seeing you soon. I gave some thought to going down there yesterday, but frankly, I'm kind of like, no.
That was terrible. The weather was terrible.
Yeah, it was way too threatening. I'm like, no. So, but yeah.
I'm saying we're supposed to have some 70 degrees. I know it's St. Louis, it'll probably change, but let's keep our fingers crossed. I'm excited for that.
All right, Katie, love doing this with you. Thank you as always.
Of course, this was super fun, Bernie. Bernie and I will be back with you at the end of the Boston Red Sox series. Time TBD. Sunday Night Baseball's throwing everything off, and then we got flights to catch to Pittsburgh Monday morning. But we will be back with you, and we'll preview the Red Sox series tomorrow. I'll have something for you guys out Friday morning. For Bernie, I'm Katie Woo. This is Cardinal Territory. We'll talk to you very soon.